Okay, picture this. You're at the store, ready to grab your go-to drink. You get to the aisle,
Yep.
and bam, the shelf is empty.
I've been there. It's the worst.
Yeah, talk about a major buzzkill, right? Well, for beverage distributors, this isn't just a minor inconvenience. It's a constant battle against out-of-stock issues. It's a big deal. And today we're diving deep into how a company called BDC is helping distributors tackle this challenge. And not just tackle it, they're actually helping them turn these stock shortages into some serious financial wins.
What's really cool is that BDC isn't about Band-Aid solutions. They look at the whole picture, aligning technology, processes, and the people involved to create a system that actually gets results.
So they're not just throwing software at the problem, they're taking this holistic approach.
Exactly. It's about the bigger picture. And speaking of the big picture, we've got some interesting info here on what they call the inventory paradox. Have you ever heard of this?
The inventory paradox.
Yeah, the situation where distributors have warehouses overflowing with inventory but still can't keep their products on store shelves.
Like having a closet packed with clothes, but nothing to wear.
Yeah, kind of. But seriously, it seems counterintuitive, right?
Totally.
Hey.
How can you have too much stock and not enough at the same time? Doesn't make sense.
You'd think it would be simple, but think of it this way. You could have every ingredient under the sun in your pantry, but without a recipe, you're not making a meal.
Right. Okay. I see where you're going with this.
It's the same with inventory. You can't just have it. You have to manage it. You have to know what you need and when you need it. And that's precisely where BDC comes in. They bring this data-driven approach to forecasting and inventory optimizations. Like, they provide that missing recipe for success.
So they're helping distributors plan their inventory like a chef plans a meal.
That's a great way to put it. And the impact is real. They helped one of their clients slash their average inventory days on hand by a whopping $252,000. That's a lot of money that was just sitting there, tied up in inventory. Now it's free to be used elsewhere.
Wow, $252,000. That's massive. But hold on, less inventory doesn't automatically equal fewer out-of-stocks, right?
Absolutely. That's just step one. The real win is using this data to actually prevent those stockouts from happening in the first place. This same client saw a 35% drop in the number of cases cut due to, just not having enough product.
So they're actually getting more products to the customers.
Exactly. And more products mean more sales. We're talking an extra $314,000 worth of product they were able to sell just because they had it in stock.
Let me get this straight.
Yeah.
We're talking $252,000 saved on inventory PRUS, an extra $314,000 in sales.
That's right.
So that's, hold on, a total annual savings of over $630,000. That's incredible. What's the secret sauce here? How are they getting such insane results through aligning technology, processes, and people?
Well, it really is about creating this system where everything works together. Take their approach to the inventory paradox. They use cutting-edge forecasting software to predict inventory needs with crazy accuracy. Then they help the distributors fine-tune their processes. Things like how often they order, minimum stock levels, all that stuff is optimized to make sure they're ordering the right amount at the right time. And just as important, they make sure that the people, the warehouse staff, the sales reps, everybody gets the training they need and clear guidelines so that everyone's on the same page about keeping inventory levels exactly where they need to be.
Got it. So it's like attacking inefficiency from all angles.
You got it. And they use the same multi-pronged approach to tackle other big distributor challenges, like supplier issues, which, let's face it, have become a fact of life.
Oof, don't even get me started on supply chain problems. They're a nightmare. So how does BDC help distributors deal with those headaches?
First, they bring in technology like EDI, electronic data interchange.
EDI. That sounds complicated.
It's actually simpler than it sounds. It's like setting up a direct line between the distributor's computer system and the supplier system.
So no more missed calls, no more lost emails. The systems are talking directly.
Exactly. It's all about visibility. Instead of surprises and scrambling to react, distributors can see exactly what's going on with their orders in real time. For one of BDC's clients, this meant getting updates as soon as a product left the bottler. With that kind of heads up, they could adjust future orders and avoid those dreaded stockouts before they even had a chance to happen. And that meant they could see sales opportunities they would have missed otherwise.
So it's like having a crystal ball for your supply chain.
That's a great way to put it. We've talked about technology and we've touched on processes, but what about the human factor? It seems like even with the best tech in the world, human error could still mess things up. What about the people part when it comes to improving the supply chain? You bring up a great point, and BDC gets that. They know that technology and processes are only as good as the people using them. So they work really closely with distributors to provide top-notch training on all the new systems and processes, making sure everyone's comfortable. From warehouse workers to sales reps, everyone's on board and understands how to make it work.
So it's not just like, here's your fancy new software, good luck. They're actually making sure people know how to use it effectively.
Exactly. And they also help to develop what are called SOPs, standardized operating procedures, basically for everything, placing orders, receiving shipments, you name it.
So like a playbook for the whole supply chain team.
Yes. It's all about creating consistency and maximizing efficiency. And that's how you really see the magic happen. When you combine real-time insights from technology, well-defined processes guiding each step, and a team that's fully trained and ready to execute, that's when you see those stockouts plummet and sales skyrocket. Now let's talk about another crucial piece of this whole puzzle, the warehouse.
The warehouse.
Yeah, even with perfect inventory management, great relationships with suppliers, if your warehouse isn't running like a well-oiled machine, things can still go south pretty fast.
I get that. It's easy to kind of forget about the warehouse, but it really is the central hub of the entire distribution operation.
Absolutely. You've got product constantly flowing in and out, picking, packing, so much happening. There's a ton to manage.
Absolutely. And that's where things like, I don't know, the warehouse layout and those picking processes can make or break your efficiency.
Right. And BDC understands that. Even the smallest inefficiencies in the warehouse can snowball into major problems later on, like our old friend, the stockout.
So how do they help? How does BDC help distributors optimize their warehouse setup?
Well, they've got a two-pronged strategy. And again, it comes back to aligning technology, processes, and people. First, they take a deep dive into the physical layout of the warehouse. They look at the flow of products, where the high-demand items are placed, all that.
Okay.
They use data to identify bottlenecks and inefficiencies. Then they work hand-in-hand with the distributor to redesign the layout, making sure those picking paths are optimized. It streamlines everything, minimizes wasted time and effort.
So it's like giving the warehouse a makeover for maximum efficiency.
Exactly. It's all about making the space work smarter, not harder. And the second part of their strategy is all about the people. They bring in these really cool warehouse management systems. It's like GPS for your warehouse workers. These systems guide workers to the right spot, help them pick the correct products, even suggest the most efficient routes.
So no more wandering around the warehouse like they're lost in a maze.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is, a game changer for efficiency.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But all this new technology must mean a lot of training for the warehouse staff, right? I mean, there's a learning curve with all these new systems.
You're absolutely right. And that's another area where BDC really shines. Remember, it's all about the people. They provide comprehensive training programs so every single warehouse worker knows how to use these new systems and tools like a pro.
So it's not a case of just handing them a tablet and saying, figure it out.
Definitely not. They also work with distributors to develop very clear, standardized procedures for everything that happens in the warehouse, from receiving shipments to picking orders, packing products, you name it.
It sounds like they're really focused on empowering the workforce, not just replacing them with machines.
That's it, exactly.
Okay.
BDC really gets that technology is just a tool, and like any tool, it needs to be in the right hands to be truly effective.
It makes you realize how interconnected everything is, how BDC's approach is always about bringing those three elements together, the technology, the processes, and the people. Whether we're talking about inventory management or supplier relationships or warehouse operations, it's about finding that sweet spot where everything works together.
You're absolutely right. It's this integrated approach that sets BDC apart. They understand you can't just focus on one little piece of the puzzle. You have to look at the whole system to create lasting, meaningful results.
So for all our listeners out there, the ones who might be feeling a little overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of running a beverage distribution business, what's the key takeaway from all of this?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. Getting rid of those pesky stockouts, boosting efficiency, ultimately increasing profitability, it all comes down to creating a system where technology, processes, and people are all in sync, working in harmony. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about making them all work together seamlessly.
It's like a symphony, right? Each section playing its part to create this beautiful, harmonious sound.
Exactly. And when that happens, the results speak for themselves.
So even if you're not in the beverage industry, you can still learn from what BDC is doing.
100%. The core principles here are universal. Any business that relies on inventory, supply chains, efficient warehouses can benefit from this integrated approach.
So it's not just about keeping the shelves stocked. It's about taking a step back and asking yourself, are my systems, my processes, my people all working together the best they can?
You got it. And if the answer is no, then it's time to start making some changes.
Okay, that's great advice. But what about those who aren't ready to, bring in a company like BDC? Are there smaller steps they can take to start getting things aligned? Where do you even begin to untangle something as complex as a whole distribution network?
That's a great question. And the good news is you don't have to do everything at once. You don't need to completely overhaul your entire operation overnight.
So start small.
Yeah, start by figuring out where your biggest pain points are. Where are you experiencing the most friction in your business? Is it inventory management? Is it communication with your suppliers? Warehouse operations?
Okay, so diagnose the problem first.
Right. Once you've pinpointed the areas that need the most attention, then you can start exploring solutions.
That makes sense, but with so many options out there, software, consultants, training programs, where do you even begin? It could feel overwhelming.
I hear you. It can definitely be a lot to take in. But that's why it's so important to do your research. Talk to other businesses, see what's working for them. And don't be afraid to reach out to experts for advice. You don't have to reinvent the wheel here.
Yeah, find a guide who's been down this path before.
Exactly. And remember, even small changes can make a big difference. You don't need to go all in on some massive, super expensive system right away.
So baby steps. Find those quick wins to build momentum.
That's the idea. Maybe you start by investing in a simple inventory management software. Or maybe you just implement a few process improvements in your warehouse. Small changes can add up quickly.
I'm starting to see things in a whole new light now. We started talking about empty shelves, frustrated customers, but now it's like I'm seeing this whole network of systems and processes and people all working together to make things run smoothly.
That's what's so cool about taking a deep dive, right? You start to see the bigger picture. You understand how all the pieces fit together to create a truly successful business.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into out-of-stock solutions, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all this?
If you only remember one thing, remember this. Real, lasting success, especially in a fast-paced industry like beverage distribution, it's not about quick fixes or Band-Aid solutions. It takes a holistic approach. You have to commit to aligning your technology, your processes, and most importantly, your people. Create that culture of efficiency, of collaboration, of always striving to get better. And that's how you win. That's how you keep those shelves stocked A&D, those profits growing.
That's a great point to end on. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the fascinating world of beverage distribution. Until next time, keep those drinks flowing and those profits soaring.